Hi there and hello, my name is Connor. 今回の動画では The Otals の音楽活動について話しています。The Otals are an indie rock, indie pop, and also shoegaze band from Tokyo, Japan. Despite having only formed in 2021, they have a ton of music out. Now, if you're like me, you probably don't know much about this band. Maybe you do. I for sure did not. Because I knew nothing about them, I decided to do some research, and in doing so, I found out a lot. And this is a really cool and very interesting band, and I really want to share some of that with you who is watching this right now. And also, too, their second official album released recently, so I thought this was the perfect time to talk about their career up to this point. This is probably going to be a long video just because I am going to be talking about so many albums and EPs and events and collaborations. There is a lot happening here, and I hope you watch the whole thing because it is all very interesting for any kind of band, especially a virtual kind of band like this. So I guess I have to ask first and foremost, do you like the band Gorillaz? Because if you do, you are going to like the Otals then. Like Gorillaz, they are also a virtual band. However, instead of 4 members, there are only 2. I don't think we'll ever know their names, at least not now or until they decide to actually officially reveal that. With that in mind, I will only be referring to these members as their fictional names, as their characters, because that is literally all we have to go off of. And also too, I feel like if we did learn the actual names, that's kind of spoiling the fun, isn't it? So as I mentioned, they have a huge catalog for a band that only started 4 years ago. They have their debut album as well as 4 compilation albums and then 5 EPs, and on top of that too, a ton of singles. I'm gonna say at least closing in on like 24 singles. The Otals describe themselves as a shoegaze and also dream pop and also twee pop band. I do hear it. I do still think that's selling them a little short though. I feel like on one hand, it is very easy to compare them to other popular shoegaze bands such as For Tracy Hyde and also April Blue. However, I also feel like there is an underlying punk edge to a lot of their music, especially their later music as well. With that said, I think their musical activity is so incredibly interesting as a band. They have 2 virtual characters with great designs, and also these designs change over time like they would in real life. Overall, I just think everything about this band is incredibly unique. And so as you can imagine, in preparing for this video, I listened to their entire discography. And so with that, let's start. First, let's start off with what I'm calling EP 0. This is called The Night Swallows. It's from 2021, and it's not available on streaming platforms. Because of that, I don't really have a lot to say on this album because I couldn't listen to it outside of Japan, I think. I think it's maybe available in other regions, just not the US, maybe Mexico, maybe Canada, maybe Europe. I don't know, I can't check. With that said, we are going to start with their first project, which is going to be the first in their series, which is titled And the Rules of Summer. After releasing that EP and also some singles, the Otals would officially begin their career with their first compilation album. This album also features work from the bands Co-Color Dear Summer and also Ono Quintet. Now, let me start off by saying I love the concept of these compilation albums. I just think they are such a fun way to be able to promote yourself and also the music from your peers and friends. Plus, on top of that, having an assortment of 10 or so songs with another artist handling about 30% of the rest of the album really keeps things fresh along the entire runtime. While yes, each band has a similar and complementary sound, they all stay pretty distinct from one another. On top of that too, I would also say that the overlap is minimal, and it also helps to keep the bands from kind of stepping on each other's toes. Even from this early work, you can really tell that the Otals had a very clear vision for what their music should sound like. And by that I mean rock music as a bass sound, which then allows for their music to really go in any direction they want. This fluidity also helps them work with a whole smattering of different bands and artists, which of course also reminds me of the modus operandi of Gorillaz as well. The songs from the Otals on this project are good, but I do have to say that I really enjoyed their final song, which is titled Martindale. It's sort of like a lo-fi shoegaze version of The Pillows sometimes. I think in my opinion, I would really classify this starting sound from them sort of as soft rock just a little bit, yet it still has some of those dreamier shoegaze elements in it too. Much like the Japanese band Plastic Girl in the Closet, the Otals also utilize both male and female vocals in their songs too. I really like how they seemingly split vocal duties about 50-50% on every single song they make. And because of this, the songs never really feel too samey because they are able to build off of what each other is singing or writing or really anything of that sort. And yeah, in general, I think this first compilation album is a really nice start. I wouldn't quite call it a slam dunk, though of course, what can you really expect from a band's first few forays into music? I'm not really expecting gold here, and I don't think they quite delivered anything less than, let's say, silver. Now from here we move into March 2022, where they would release their first EP, which is titled Psycho Alchemist. This is something that I would very much call bare bones shoegaze. The songs here have a very bouncy rock sound. However, the bass really sounds a bit neutered in the mix. There are some synths that do enhance the guitars, though in general, I just think the mix sounds really muddy here. I think in some ways this EP is closer to a demo tape, but despite that, I do really think it still showcases their potential. For example, songs like Ryugu-san have such an infectious flow to them. I also really feel like this song is a sign of things to come as well, because at least for a while, the band would move away from this kind of electronic production as found on this song. However, it does come back eventually in some of their newer work. There's another song on this EP which I really enjoyed too, which is titled Alter Ego. While yes, I do really enjoy the electronic production here, I do also really enjoy the city life field recordings on here as well. I think it's very lovely, and I do find that it also instills a certain sense of real life to the songs too, which I think is especially important because they are fictional characters who make up the band. One thing that's very obvious from this early stage too is that the band really enjoys telling stories as well. And in doing so, they would often forego traditional hooks in their songwriting style too. Like for instance, here are the lyrics from the song Summertime.jpg. There's not a lot of repetition from what you can see from the Japanese, right? I just think this is a really good start for their career, and with that said, we are now getting into compilation 2. Okay, so now we have reached And the Rules of Summer 2, which originally released in August of 2022. Just 5 months after that first EP, the Otals returned with their second collab album. For this one, the Otals included work from Paper Cloud, who had also contributed to EP1, as well as another band who are called Fuyu Shingo. Or I guess technically Fuyu Singo, however they don't really have the C sound in Japanese, so it's kind of Shingo, but it's spelled Singo. Hope that helps. The second song from the Otals on this one is titled She Is What I Call Ultramarine, and this one also features a guest singer who is named Marina Kai. I feel like from the jump, you can really tell that the band learned a lot from their previous work here. I would say, in my not-so-expert opinion, the rock compositions sound much tighter and also more intentful on this album. I do also feel like the mixing has really improved on this compilation album too, especially in regards to their mixing ability as well as the vocal recordings themselves. As seen in that first compilation album, the guests here really integrate well with the sound of the Otals. I think my synopsis for this one is that this album features some awesome summer tunes alongside a really nice light feeling of freedom and expression and just joy to be alive. And how cool is that, right? And then from here, we then move on to their second EP, which titled Farewell Our Cabbage Fields. This EP was released in March of 2023, and this, once again, really sounds like an evolution of their most recent work leading up to this EP. This is where they really start to go for more of an indie punk sort of shoegaze sound. Though, of course, they do still stay true to their roots and feature songs like My Dream Steinberg, which is very much a new age Japanese shoegaze song. And also, while we're talking about it, I need to say how much I love this song. It's probably one of my favorites in their whole catalog. So in my opinion, I feel like this is the project where the band really found their sound. Songs like the Strawberry Shortcakes really carried a sound and also an overall vibe that would also work its way into pretty much every piece of their future work. I do also find that they really fine-tuned the quality of the mixing and the recording here on this EP too. Like the opening bass line on the song Alice in Soapland sounds really heavy and groovy. I love that one so much. This EP also features a really nice mix of fast-paced Shimokita rock songs as well as some medium-paced hard rock ones too, and I just really like that variation and that combination, and I am so happy they experimented in this way on this EP. And actually, as a matter of fact, this would be their last EP for a while, because at this point we finally move into LP number 1, You Must Believe in Girlfriend. This album was released in May of 2023, and I have to admit I am somewhat of two minds on this one. First and foremost, this is basically a compilation album of all of their previous released songs. I do think it is really nice to finally have a collection of pretty much all of their hits made prior to this. I just kind of wish this had more new songs on it, which I guess is technically true because it does feature some songs from EP 0, but no new official, new songs. For example, they added the song Nanamaru Sanbatsu from that EP 0, and I do really like it. It's cool that I can actually listen to it, but I'd like some new songs too. I don't know. What I will say though is that even though some of these songs were technically released over the span of 2 whole years, they all fit on this one album really, really well. What's more, the songs on this album are also structured in a way where the pacing is actually perfect. So like I said, while yes, I am happy that they collected all of their hits here, I would have liked new music because we've heard all of these songs before, but I guess it makes sense to have those collected on your first album. But still, it is technically still a retread, so I'm of two minds of it, like I said. But I guess, hey, maybe if you don't want to listen to their entire discography leading up to this point, you can just start with this album because it it pretty much covers all of the highlights. And it's at this point here that we would then move on to their third compilation album, which of course is titled And the Rules of Summer, which would release in July of 2023. Okay, so I have a lot to say about this one in particular. I think starting off, I want to talk about the features. This one features appearances from the band's 17 Years Old and Berlin Wall, as also Sugar Drop. Here, the Otals really continue that very heavy shoegaze streak of theirs. The first song in particular, which is titled Teenager, has some real dreamwave qualities added as well. Because of this, I really get some Ford Tracy Hyde vibes from this song in particular. There is another feature on this album, which I did not mention. The second song from the Otals actually features Eureka, who is the lead singer of Ford Tracy Hyde. This is a totally natural collab, and I am so happy it exists. Oh my god. This song also came out after Ford Tracy Hyde disbanded in 2022. So for that reason, this song almost acts as a passing of the torch in that respect as well. This song is much poppier than usual and also features a really nice bouncy bedroom pop sound in particular. And I would say this is primarily because of the use of these electronic bells and also staticky vocal effects, which sort of in a way sounds like the band Ivy to me, but I'll be getting into that later on. The songs on this compilation really sound like a nice way to kickstart summer, in my opinion. Especially with that first song I mentioned earlier titled Teenager. It just sounds so glitzy and fun and also sunny and just everything you associate with summer. However, from this point in 2023, the Otals would then take a break from any major releases. They would still continue to release singles throughout the rest of 2023 and also the first half of 2024. But then in June of 2024, we would then get their next EP, which is titled Destroy My Memory. Now from the get-go, this EP has a totally whole other vibe from pretty much anything else they've made. Most notably, there are lo-fi vocal effects and also kind of drum and bass production. And also, I would like to mention that June sounds better than ever on this EP. I really noticed in particular how his singing had improved on the song Welcome to Slumber Wonderland. I find that on this song, he really has an 80s or 90s sort of pop rock sound to his vocals. I think in general, his vocals have a lot more volume to them. By that I mean they just sound fuller somehow. The real highlight of this EP is their attempt to introduce electronic production, I think. This sound really works with their style of music and also the way they sing and also the way they write, and I just think it's a good choice overall for their sound. I think the last 25 years of Japanese music have really proved that indie rock, shoegaze, and electropop can totally mix together without issue. In particular, this EP really reminds me of Japanese bands such as Anorak and also Plastic Girl in the Closet and also Kotori. And also too, while we're talking about this EP, I want to mention the song Leave It to Wednesday, because I think the main melody of this song interpolates Komsusur Tot from Evangelion. The final note or two of this melody are new, but I mean, come on, it sounds a lot like it. Much like with the previous album, this would actually be the last major release from the Otals until 2025, in which we would get EP number 4, The 100 Things. This EP would release in February of 2025, and I would also say that this album really runs the gamut of rock-adjacent genres more than really anything else they've ever made up to this point. I would really say that this is reflected in the instrumentals and the vocals and also the effects on top of everything too. For instance, the vocals and the guitars are really blown out across a lot of the songs here, and honestly, I like that sound from them. This is probably my favorite sound of theirs, though I am very biased because I like 80s Japanese shoegaze. That also has a side of 2000s Japanese indie rock. And also too, this was the first project that I heard from them, so I kind of have that nostalgia, I guess, even if that nostalgia started in February of this year. There are also some exceptions to this sound though, because a lot of the songs actually get very poppy. The song Just Take Me to the Sea is one, for instance. This is just a really fun bedroom pop song, which again really reminds me of Ivy. Foreshadowing. I also have to mention that I think this might be my favorite cover out of everything they've made, and maybe my favorite piece of art out of everything they've made too. I just love how Marina's hair turns into the skyline in the background. That's so cool. That goes so hard. Absolute beautiful piece of album art. Love this one. And now with that, we have officially reached the most recent compilation album, And the Rules of Summer 4. This album was released in June of 2025, and while yes, I did really want to make a review video of this and also the 100 things, I just had too many things that I needed to make a video for, which is also kind of why I'm talking about this here in this video that you're watching right now. Now, I do have to say, this is probably my favorite compilation album of theirs, and I think it will be until the end of time. That's because the feature list on here is absolutely stacked. Okay, so first off, this album features Beachside Talks. Go watch my video on that. Second off, this features Ivy. Go watch my video on that. Third off, this features Doer. He is so cool. I love his work. It is like weird, blown out, turbo lo-fi, indie rock, indie punk, noise rock shenanigans. It's so cool. Please go check out his 2023 album. So with all that said, as you can probably imagine, I had a lot of expectations, especially high expectations, going into this compilation album. Ooh, it hits so good. This is so nice, especially because Doer hasn't released anything in a while, so it's nice to finally hear him again. And then, as is customary, another of the songs from the Otals on this one actually features another guest singer. The singer for this one is named Kaho Rihona, and I think she's an idol singer from what I can tell. I don't really know a lot about that side of the Japanese music industry because I don't really listen to idol pop or idol groups much at all, though of course there are some exceptions. But I guess what I can say is that her vocals sound like what you would expect a pop idol singer to sound like. So I guess take that how you will, I suppose. And also as a side note, I just need to mention that I love all of the illustrations for all of the members from all of these bands. They are so cute and fun and so representative of their personalities, and especially the one for Doer because it's him and then like a robot version of himself because he's a one-man band, and then all the rest is kind of like an electronic computer doing the like beats and stuff. So that's super cool, makes so much sense, it's very cute. Love that art. Now, on this album, the sound of the Otals really continues down that electronic-y path yet again. I find this to especially be the case on the song titled Lolita Born in the Countryside. Their final song on this album is titled Cheat Code is Watertown. And this is so cool, but honestly too, this song might as well be a collaboration with Anorak and also Ivy because it sounds so much like those two other bands, which of course I'm not complaining about. I love how this one sounds. This song also includes a credit from someone named Lo on the production and the synth work, so I hope we see them again. I don't know who that is, but they killed it on this one, I think. Okay, so while yes, I do love this compilation, and I do love all of the members, there is, I guess, one downside for me, and that is that 2 of the 3 songs from Beachside Talks are actually from their most recent album. And while yes, I would have loved to have heard new music, I guess it makes sense because that album was so good and so popular, but I would have liked some new stuff. Sorry. But like I said, there is one new song though, and that is titled Teenage Summer Lovers, and it is just absolutely lovely. And I do also have to imagine that it's probably a B-side from their most recent album Hokorobi, but I don't know. Either way, they're killing it on this one, and I hope they come out with more music soon because I love Hokorobi. Okay, so now let's talk Ivy. As you know, I love Ivy. I have 2 videos on them, and I love their music, I love their style, and I just love how unique that style is, more so than anything. I think my favorite of the songs is probably the one titled Nautical Mile. In particular, I really love Poo-Poo's signature playful keyboard tune here. I think it is very cute and very much like her, and I just love hearing it. And of course, I have to mention Doer as well. He sounds great. Happy to have him back. I don't really have much to say because his music is all very similar, but because it's all very high quality, I can't really complain. I like hearing it, and whenever I want to listen to something like that, I turn him on because that album, which I believe is titled Suppression, is really, really cool. But you know what? With all that, we are now done with the deep dive. I'm so thirsty. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I really hope you enjoyed everything I went over because there's so much to go over. This is such an interesting and unique band. Maybe if you're familiar with my channel, you would know that I like to review and score Japanese albums. And so because of that, here are my scores for all of their music. Beep, 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 beep. And now lastly, you're probably wondering, but Connor, you haven't talked about their newest album. That's gonna be a separate video. So I guess please look forward to that. I hope to have it out soon. I'm not sure when, but I hope soon, maybe in September. That's what I'm shooting for. Thank you for watching this video. I think, hey, maybe if you like this, stick around, maybe hit that subscribe button, maybe also like it, because I might make more, I might never make one again, so I would love your feedback on what you thought of this. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye.